Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. So today I want to talk a little bit about Conqueror, the Conka-Donk, the rah-rah man as it were. It's funny, when I first saw Conqueror, well, first of all I should say that I was looking over the Knights when the game first came out. I wanted to see all the different Knight trailers, and honestly I loved all of them. I thought they were all really badass, because if there's one thing the For Honor trailers did well, it really made you interested in the characters, and Conk was no different. He looked awesome, the big old shield. In fact, he was the first knight with a shield. And I was kind of like, well, isn't that kind of obvious? The knights were known for shields. And he had a really cool design. I really liked the kind of bandit lord kind of look, the very tough, grizzled. I think that they said in the trailer that they were like former inmates or prisoners who were given a chance for redemption to fight on the front lines, almost kind of like what you'd think about in like Warhammer 40k with a penal legion. You send these guys out to the toughest, most dangerous battles, because if they win, great, they get their redemption. If they don't, nothing was lost. So they're going to fight their hardest. I thought that was kind of neat, and the flail really reflected that. So I was like, this guy looks awesome. And then I played him, and things changed. Not that I hated him by any means, but his play style was worlds apart from what I expected. It was very strange. I can't explain it entirely, but for me, as I was playing Conqueror, I did not get the same enthusiasm out of him that I got out of some of my other characters. What I thought was so funny was, as many of you know, I like to play a lot of female characters. If I have the option between male and female on a character, I usually go female just because, honestly, I prefer playing female characters. That females sound and look more attractive to me than male characters, and I like to play attractive characters. And I noticed that there were some odd voice lines in the female character that sounded way too similar to the male. Like, for example, try doing the rah 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 emote spam that Conqueror can do, that made Conqueror famous. Do it in a female form, and you will still hear the male voice doing it. I think that's really interesting that it's still the male voice regardless. I thought, isn't that weird? But regardless, what that told me when I first heard it, and what I started to feel as I was playing Conqueror, is Ubisoft doesn't care much for this character, kind of like I don't care much for this character. So I kind of abandoned Conqueror for a long time. I thought that they were just a light spamming character, didn't have a whole lot to their kit, their flail was kind of clunky looking, and though their design was pretty neat, I didn't think there was a whole lot to them to really appreciate. So I didn't really want to play the character that much. Now, many of you will know that Conqueror went through a bit of an update, and when I say a bit, it was massive. This was about the time of the Magi Hero release, or at least close to it. Might have been before. I think it might have been at the beginning of that season before Magi was officially released. But I do remember Conqueror got this very controversial update, and they've mostly kept it to today with a few minor tweaks. But essentially, they just turned him into Yellow Attack the character. Everything was unblockable with this guy. He could get a free unblockable off of a neutral bash. He could get one heavy, but then follow that up with everything else being unblockable. There was so much to his kit that people were saying, "Oh my gosh, this guy's a nuisance. He's a monster." And you know what? I was exactly on the band camp with that. I was actually, I agree with that. He was a bit of a monster. I thought he was way too strong. But then they changed him up a little bit more. They took away one thing about the Conqueror that I thought was always strange, and I didn't like it, was he was the only character for a long time that could not cancel an attack. You couldn't hit the circle button and cancel an attack with Conqueror. You could soft feint into an all guard, but that was all you could do. You couldn't cancel an attack once you started it. If you threw a heavy, you committed to it, or you soft feinted into an all guard, which, quite frankly, I wasn't a big fan of. It's my muscle memory, It's one of those things. It's like if I want to bait someone, I want to hit that cancel button. So it was something that kind of irked me that he couldn't do that. I understood why, mind you, because it's the flail. The flail is a weapon that is unwieldy. It's hard to control. So once you start that swing, it's hard to stop that swing. You can't just stop it and go, "Oh, I'm done." But the For Honor devs realized that it was kind of silly to have Conk be this only character who couldn't have this mechanic, so they gave it to him. They gave him the ability to cancel out an attack, which, honestly, I think helped him a great deal. And after feeling his rework and seeing the changes and actually being able to use my muscle memory control with him, I started to appreciate Conk a little bit more for what they were. Their movements still felt a little awkward to me, but I have to admit there were some things I liked. I liked the bash movement that comes up with a follow uppercut heavy, which I thought that actually looks kind of good. I like some of the subtle details too. If you watch Conqueror swing those heavies, you'll notice that the Conk always moves the shield in a position so that when they finish the heavy, the ball, when it flies back, won't hit them, it'll hit the shield. That's close attention to detail that I can appreciate. I still like the whole, bandit lord or, former prisoner or, convicted felon kind of thing, and they're fighting to redeem themselves, fighting to earn their freedom, fighting to, make things right. I thought that's kind of creative. You don't see that in a whole lot of knight literature, and I thought that's a neat idea. So I did slowly start to gain an appreciation for them. And as I was writing my Conqueror character, which some of you have said that you really like, I kind of approached it from a dark possession kind of look. In fact, I will say that may have been the very first supernatural style legend that I came up with, and I don't know why I wanted to do it with Conqueror. Maybe it's because of the wild nature that they had. Maybe it's because of the just vicious look that they could have. That was part of it, I think. But regardless of all that, Conqueror always stood out to me as this very wild, unruly character. I still can't say I like them all that much compared to some of the other knights, in fact, some of the other characters. I still think they feel a little clunky, and I would be lying if I thought that Ubisoft cared about them the way they cared about some other characters. But I do have an appreciation for them. It's an odd appreciation. So they're not one of these characters that I say I can't stand. Like, oh, I hate this character. I just can't stand this character. But they are a character that I feel like I found some appreciation for over time. I think it took a rework, a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of playing with them, and I finally found something that I could really appreciate. So I guess when it comes to Conqueror, what I will say is I abide the Conqueror. I can abide the Conqueror. They're a character that I'm not crazy about, but there's something about them that I can at least enjoy and appreciate. And that's more than I can say for a few characters on this game. Of the knights, I will say this. Of the knight characters that exist, he's probably in the lower tier for me in terms of enjoyment. I do find him a little bit of a one-note nut. Just basically dodge into your neutral bash, uppercut him, and then mix up your feints and your unblockables and switching to your all guard to joke him out. I kind of felt like it's the one note nut, and sometimes you need more than that. Like, it's kind of like with Warlord. Warlord may be an objectively great character to play, but I also find him a bit of a boring character to play because his kit is so simple. Conquerors isn't as simple as Warlords, but I do feel like you just play the same note over and over again and you get your win. I don't know. I feel like something's needed there. If I were to change anything about Conqueror, I can't say exactly what it would be, but maybe he could use his shield more for attack than just defense and bash. I feel like maybe what you could do is have him do like his initial heavy isn't the flail, maybe it's the shield. He moves in, bashes with the shield, and then follows up with a heavy that's unblockable. That could be kind of interesting. Maybe I know that if he does a bash and does his light, he does this roundabout light. That's kind of neat. I also know that many people forget this, but he has a wind-up heavy that can turn the initial heavy unblockable, and I think that's cool, but I'd like some more out of that. Like, what if he could wind up that heavy and it could go into another attack rather than just a simple unblockable heavy? Maybe he could turn any attack unblockable if he did it that way. If he winds up and hits a light, it's an unblockable light. If he winds up and hits a zone, it's an unblockable zone. I don't know. I feel like there's something there. And I'm not going to say that I'm a perfect game master to be able to come up with new ideas for reworks and stuff. That's not my thing. I'm just here to tell you guys my feelings and position on the character. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to talking about the next For Honor hero in this series. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.
Salutations, good sir! Beacon, Beschworener! Oh no!
Please! Please, no! Oh god, no! Last words not found. Applying template. I died like a Last words recorded.